This podcast does contain spoilers, so if you're okay with that, listen on. If not, pause the podcast, go watch the movie we're about to talk about, and come on back.
All right, sweet.
Excuse me.
Brandon, over here. Hey,
Pardon me.
why don't you have the popcorn? It's starting.
Woo! Hey.
Hey, shut up. Shut up and listen to the podcast. Hey.
There's a lot out there to see. This is what we watched. Matt's looking out for you, Matt. Right over my head.
Not like, just like your hand. Not like your hand? Your hand wasn't over your head because it wasn't raised?
Sometimes like your hand.
Sure.
Whoa. Ooh, what your hand? What we watched. Movie club. We're going to start on your hand, Jeffrey.
On my hand? Like
Yes.
this one? Oh, wait.
Your cat. I was going to say you're messing up your cat.
Okay. Anyways.
Movie club time.
Movie club.
Movie club.
It feels like it's been so long since we recorded a movie club.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has been at least
And
a
we-
week
This is
or
very true.
two.
We had Twisters last week. We're all just super busy, so we could not do. But everyone go back and listen to Twisters, where I'm the voice of reason on an average movie, and Brandon hasn't seen the light yet, but now he has. So we're doing
Now I
Twisters 2.
Ah.
We're doing Twisters again.
Twisters, the second coming.
Twisters.
There's two sets of Twisters now.
I mean, they're
Twister
there's
Eye.
the whole they're just every storm gets copied somehow. And they're trying to figure that out. They're like, what? Whatever we do to this one does to this one.
How is this possible?
No, but actually, what we're doing is movie club, time travel,
Time travel movies.
Yeah.
And I was
Which one are we doing today, Brandon?
I was watching this one and I went, is this a time travel movie? And then I got to the end and went, of course it's a time travel movie. This is all about time, nothing but time
That's like the
travel.
whole thing.
It's learning how to time travel. So today on the show, we're talking Arrival. Denis Villeneuve's, at the time, masterpiece before he made Dune.
Villeneuve?
I was gonna
Villeneuve?
ask which one is your favorite Denny movie. But anyway, we're talking about that.
So we're talking
I'm Matt.
Arrival.
That's Jeff, who's
I'm
above
Brandon.
me on my screen, and then
What's
that one's
going on?
Brandon. What is your favorite Denny movie?
I'm pulling it
'Cause
up
this is-
right now.
This might be up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do like Dune, but I think Sicario might be my favorite. I think it might be 1 and 2 might be a fight between this and Sicario, I think. And then the
Okay.
Dune ones are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think anything else he has done is in the conversation.
This is our 4th Denis Villeneuve movie, by the way.
Yeah, we're getting
Oh, so
around.
I can...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa.
5th.
Whoa.
This is our 5th movie. Nice.
What was the fifth?
Heck yeah.
This.
Two- oh.
Arrival's the 5th.
I guess it is, yeah.
So, Dune, what are the ones that we did? Sicario?
Blade Runner.
Sicario, Dune Part
Blade
1 and
Runner.
Part 2, and Blade Runner 2049.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about Blade Runner.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, clearly.
I'm sorry.
I think
Don't yell at
Arrival
me.
is probably my favorite of the 5 that we've talked about. I think I
God,
liked
if
it the
he-
best.
If he didn't watch this on the Tales of Deadpool and Twisters, I believe it might have been a 10. Damn.
I love this movie. This is a good one.
It is good.
This is a very good one.
And like considering it's from 2016, it looks really fucking good still.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching this in the theater
Yes.
and just being
Yes.
blown away by how like the spaceship looked and how grand that helicopter shot when we first get to the field and the reveal of that stone like monolith that is the spaceship. I just was like, how the fuck did they do this? This looks perfect.
Yeah, where did they ship that in from?
Exactly.
I will say, when I was like sitting there watching this movie, this is a movie that I don't want to say people could make, but like when you're sitting on the truck with just the spaceship in the background, and it's a gorgeous background, and literally it's just like there's just a that's the CG shot kind of is just you just put an asset. Like we could do that at home. You could do that at home Especially now with AI, like you could make those shots and stuff, but they're so absolutely gorgeous and simple at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite hard to comprehend quite how massive this scale is. And I did a little bit of research on this. They had practical sets. So like the interior of the ship is 100% practical. I wish the aliens themselves were practical.
They still looked good though.
Honestly,
really?
no, they
See,
did. They looked fantastic.
Okay, I didn't have trouble with it necessarily. I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, the fact that they had a practical set, I think, kind of helped exactly what you're talking about. Is it made it look so much better because it wasn't, done with CGI. It wasn't enhanced by CGI. It was all lit, in house, and so that's really cool.
Some of the lighting was annoying. Could we just put? Can I see her fucking face for once in a while? Like most of the movie. That's all I'm looking for.
I was finishing it up this morning on my projector, and there's like, I have a skylight and there's daylight coming through. So that already makes it a bit rough. And then I was just like, damn, I need to watch this on my computer at a certain point because there were some dark shots.
It still looked,
not that it's
still
bad, but just
good.
Like, I don't know.
It was impressive lighting, but could we just like turn it up a little bit? And maybe it is because it was shot for theater and not necessarily, sitting at home. You're supposed to watch it in theater, which makes sense because, I mean, even still, it looks absolutely gorgeous to me. I liked that when she got in there, like, it feels like the lighting wise, what they were setting up was when she's in there, that's the best you can see her. We like those scenes because I could see her whole face. Literally, when the first time she stepped up, I was like, oh, hey, it's Amy Adams. Who knew it was Amy Adams this whole time? Like, so I don't know if they necessarily did that on purpose so that we would enjoy, kind of the scenes in there the best, or I'm just, trying to make stuff up because it was kind of dark.
I mean, it was a lot of you initially think it's flashbacks, but like it was all those like visions she was seeing that were like some of the darker stuff from what I can remember.
I mean, when before she got to the camp, it was all super, super dark. Like, at least for me. It got better as it went, but that's when I wrote down another dark, dark shot of her centered in the frame, which they also were obsessed with throughout the movie. Was they love to center her in the frames, and also if she's walking anywhere, we're going to center her and then be behind her following her. That was all like the transition shots of her walking. I felt like we did all the time, which
just a lot of symmetry.
Yes.
Ton of symmetry, ton of movement as well in from frame to frame and from scene to scene. But Bradford Young, who is the DP on this one, talks about how they did that intentionally. They used shadows and they used darkness to kind of explore the idea of, he talked about it, exploring the idea of it as an unknown rather than as a reason to be afraid, which I think it plays into the theme of, just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's, harmful to you. It just means you need to spend time. You need to, understand each other.
But it's 1,000% reasonable to worry about that, to bring that up. No, I agree with you. But anytime someone was like, well, maybe that's not right. Well, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm like, okay, chill out. It's just not obviously this isn't an open space because no one can say anything other than, hey, I know the truth from the beginning. Yeah. Even though she was lying. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Even though she was starting to understand. But do you think, Matt, that they overdid the darkness? They overplayed it too much?
For my viewing, I would say a little bit, but I'm willing to admit that it wasn't the best conditions. So it's like, I don't want to, like when I watched that one movie in a hotel room and I was like, oh, the sound sucked, but I was listening to it on a shitty hotel sound. So I can't really, it's hard to judge to be like, oh, it was bad or they did it too bad. Too much based off of I'd have to see it in theaters because if I saw it in theaters and I could still see everything crisply and see detail, 100% fine.
And that's how I felt when I did see it in theaters. I didn't have any, there was no part of me that was thinking like, oh, it's too dark. Like the same way that when that Game of Thrones episode came out where everyone was talking about, like people were watching that shit at home and they were having an issue. That's where you for sure have an issue.
Correct.
Like,
granted, that's a little different, but yes.
Yeah, well, like when they
it's a TV show.
But that's the thing. They didn't like mix it for the theaters. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys kind of like colored and did things for the theater setting.
I know. I agree with you. Game of Thrones is different because they should have colored it for
that's what I'm saying.
not theaters.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's why the other scenario is like that makes more sense for people to be more upset about it versus this one. It's like they tailored it to the theaters. Therefore, when it translates to the TV or projector or something at your house, it's like you could run into issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a lot of cold colors, it feels like, too. There's rarely, I'm trying to think if anything popped. Like the warmest colors were the flashback forward stuff.
The flash forwards.
Yes.
Future memories.
Well, time, what is time? It's not a circle. So if it's not also in your future, it's also your past. So
while remaining your present.
I'm deep, Brandon. Well, that's why I said past/future. Flashback/forwards. Because it's a circle.
Future memories. I'm holding on that. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that those are probably the times that there actually was warmth to the scene. And I mean, even that was brief because I think the warmest tones were when Hannah was a kid. But
I think that was most of the time. I thought we saw her like sick early.
Yeah. And we saw her sick a couple of times since after the beginning, but like even progressively, as she was growing up in that up style intro where we went through the kid's life until she passed away, it progressively got darker and darker. So you're right, there was glimpses of warmth and warm tones, but even that was just sucked away so quickly, and we just got cooler and cooler. But I love this movie that it totally subverted what you expect to be. Amy Adams, Louise, she went through this horrible thing with her kid, and now that was her past, and now we're cutting to present day, and that's why it's so cold and dark and gloomy inside the college, and we're following all of that, and the expectation of time is linear was just really played with in this entire thing, and I really truly enjoyed it.
I agree. The coloring played so nicely with the storytelling as a whole, which I don't know if that's necessarily my favorite part of the movie. It might honestly be sound design, which we'll talk about later. But the storytelling I thought they did a fantastic job of how they structured it. Like you said, they gave us a little bit of, here's the kid, this is what kind of is happening. And we just took an assumption that it was the past. And it didn't necessarily I want to say it didn't go out of its way and lie to us. It didn't lie to us. It didn't try to kind of trick. It used what they knew we'd assume. And then they just ran with it. And they're like, you can think that. We're not going to tell you either way.
Yeah.
But you can think that. And then when we reveal it, it is such a good reveal. But
Right.
I thought they did a really good job. And the more you watch, it's like, okay, you can see a little bit of a clue here, kind of clue there. Not as much as Fight Club did it, I think. But they did a good job of doling it out slowly, but also when you rewatch it, you're like, okay, I guess I probably could have caught that.
Yeah,
if I'd known.
That's what I liked about that entire flashback/flash forward later on kind of situation is they gave you these fragmented visuals, and the dialogue was very minimalistic, and they left it very open to interpretation from what we typically see. And then I just loved the idea that they didn't spoon feed us exposition even once the reveal was there. They kind of just the dialogue felt natural from as if it was a memory, and that was done exceptionally well. I don't really feel like you see much of that in such tight little segments or cut together pieces where people usually go big old flashback and then a whole bunch of exposition and kind of spoon fed. So it was just cool to see them do that in that style.
Yeah, and the dialogue stays pretty vague throughout. There are definitely glimpses and moments where I think she says, if you want science-y, go ask your father. That's very much later on, and that's meant to be hey, did you kind of get it yet? Did you understand where we're coming from? But that's where I like this movie's rewatchability factor. I think that gets a bump up because you do catch those kind of things on second, third, fourth viewings. You get a little bit more, and that takes a really well-crafted story and a really well-crafted character to be able to pull something like that off, where you see things multiple times.
Well, this also is a rewatch. I think I could watch this twice in a week, and you catch all the stuff, and then you don't watch it for I haven't watched it in years, And then I watch it again, and it's kind of like we reset because I'm like, oh, I forgot. Oh, that's
Dude,
right. Oh, this.
I literally put down a note that I was like, oh, I forgot this was the future stuff.
Yeah.
Like I totally forgot until like midway, and I was like, oh.
I'm trying to remember what it was because I think I forgot that the kid died, and then when they they showed I was like, oh, that's why they fought. That was the whole thing. Now I remember. I remember.
Yeah,
and it's so good because it doesn't like smack you in the face, and we remember these big, we remember the big stuff, but just there's a bunch of tiny little details that do also give you the rewatchability of when you just don't watch it again.
So this is kind of the situation that we were talking about whatever movie it was, and I had said, hey, I want something like crazy to happen. I want the monster to appear. I want the giant robot to come out of nowhere and like disrupt society and like this to happen. I think that's kind of started here with Arrival the first time I saw it. It's like, oh, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I don't need to go and interact with the aliens and the spacecraft, even though I want to. But I just kind of want that to happen. I kind of want that just to be.
So you don't want to be in it. You just want to be near it.
No. He does. Oh, really? Oh, see, I imagine.
Like I said, I would love to be the one to go and touch the spaceship. That would be fucking insane.
I was gonna say. I envision Brandon wanting to be Amy Adams, where he's serving and the colonel walks in and he's like, Brandon, we need you. The aliens, for some reason, only communicate through server writing. It's really hard to read. We can't figure it out. There are no other servers. We need you to come save us. And then he's like, fuck yeah. Throws all his shit. He's like, I quit. I'm out. Fuck you, bitches.
That hurts.
And then he comes back in like a week or so because they're like, what is going on?
Why did you give them French fries?
They've been waiting for their water. They stayed for 20 minutes. Bullshit.
Fucking bullshit. They sat down 6 minutes ago.
Amy Adams said they wanted a beer. Why did you bring them this?
The whole point of this, Brandon, is you're supposed to predict the future. You know what they want. That's why we sent you to the aliens. That's the whole reason. Amy Adams could be the greatest server of all time, hypothetically. She just stands there and then she's, oh, you guys want this. Food's already in. Here's your drinks. Ooh.
I hate my life.
I literally had a note of asking Brandon if he'd be stoked about this situation or not, based on the robot thing that you brought up in another episode.
Exactly.
I literally wrote down a note for that. So I'm glad you brought it up.
It does check out. It definitely is in line with what we know of Brandon.
Yes. I'm glad. I'm glad it all lines up and it's all making sense now. No, that's exactly. But then at the same time, like, we're watching like on TV or we're hearing through the news reports or the radio or whatever, like we're just hearing panic ensue in every city and throughout the world. And that was very also reminiscent of the pandemic where, when things shut down, like the stock market crashed and people were panic buying, essentials. And there was just this, sorry, I did it again. There was just this uncertainty and fear kind of spreading throughout. And that is the truly terrifying aspect of a situation like this, where, it's always fun to say, hey, what if aliens arrived? What would we do? How would we act? And the reality is we'd all fucking panic and there would be, riots and, martial order. And there would be a lot more terrifying situations than, this cool, hey, we can go and interact and learn their language.
Agreed. And that's one of the reasons why, one of the weird things that they got so angry at, like the military just being like cautious and stuff. Like they were also, the military was definitely assholes at some points. Like, don't get me wrong. And they ended up being wrong. But it was like, guys, people would be freaking out. We can't just share that they were talking to us about weapon. I don't know. It's just like, I understand when the government was like, oh, you can't just tell people that. And
well, it is a delicate situation. Like if another being from another world came down, you're like, if we just start shooting missiles at them, they could just, like, we don't know what technology they have. They could just fucking obliterate us. So it's like we have to approach this very delicately and try not to get people panicked.
Cautiously.
It reminds me of how, like, but I do think it's realistic in the sense that some places would freak out more than others and things, and like, their politics, religion, all this gets involved. It reminds me of like District 9 in that way. Just like the realistic factors of how people would actually react in those ways if some ship came down or something.
I was also thinking about, honestly, the whole thing kind of gave me a District 9 vibe a little bit. not so much. But while I was watching this, I was like, oh, we could do an Alien month. Maybe I'll do District 9. That's so funny that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Alien month with Alien as our fantastic franchise will be perfect. Let's do it.
I watched the first one so far. I'm trying to get the second one on. First one was good. Production design was fucking phenomenal. I thought.
Yeah.
The more and more I keep seeing trailers for the new Alien movie, the more I'm just like, this is gonna look so sick. Like they definitely took like Dead Space, if you guys ever played that game, and just like definitely put in those like really crazy horror space vibes. Super cool.
Anyways.
Speaking of aliens, all right.
Speaking of production design, the production design was, I thought, really, really freaking good. Like the camps for the military, that's not the hardest thing to make in the world of setting those up. They did a fantastic job of it. It was it felt very believable to me. Also, it's kind of smart. If you want a lower budget, this is just like a random little set could be placed anywhere, and then you could like just leave it and stuff. Yeah. But the ship, which is the most important part, I thought was spec-fucking-tacular. Like just the grooves, the texture, when you get in there, the ideas, the freaking glass wall also, which nobody was like, oh, they just have glass like normal.
Well, they just called it the barrier, so I don't know. They didn't really go into detail of what that even felt like.
That's fair. I don't know if he said there's a glass divider or there's a glass-like divider. They might have said that too.
Yeah, I just remember Amy Adams being like, the barrier. And I was like, oh, so they're not defining it as glass, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. This sounded like glass. The sound design made it sound like glass.
Yes. The sound design made it definitely sound like, well, yes, mostly. God, it was so hard for me to be like, this one, the sound design, I don't know if I could like make this up. If they were like, describe me the greatest thing ever. I was like, I don't know if I could like match this with their sound, but it worked perfectly, right? It kind of it's kind of out of nowhere, but it just worked perfectly in this world. But anyways, production design of that place was the ship was fantastic.
Yeah. And I think it kind of again goes back to how it was a practical set and it was all made with hand, and but it was also minimalist. Like there wasn't a lot of stuff that was in there. Weren't a ton of props, or weren't a lot of hoopla with it. It was very very simple.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. The bird was a perfect touch also.
The canary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Canary in a coal mine.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. I also think tell me if you guys got the same vibe too, but in watching the intro when the shell ship kind of came around, it felt very Dune to me, just based on the score and the epicness of the shots. Like it was all very like reminiscent. I was like, oh wow, that's definitely a Denis thing, because that's just what he likes. Because different composer, different DP, but still similar style.
Are you talking about like the were you talking about the shot that I think it was like the first time they entered the camp?
It was like all of it, like when they first actually get to Montana and see the ship. Like there's these big epic shots, like looking up, and the score is all this like this fantastic score.
Dude,
of, like
the helicopter shot. The helicopter shot. I was like, oh, there's Denis. That makes sense, because like it feels like Sicario. It felt like Dune. Like this is one of those times where, because we talked about before, it's like, who's the visionary, the DP or the director? If we separated them, who's like got what ideas? And you can clearly tell through his movies, because he's worked with multiple different DPs and stuff, that it's like, oh, that is definitely Denis. Denis loves that shit. And it looked fantastic. It looked, oh my God, I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane. That helicopter shot, like I had mentioned earlier, is like, that was the first time I remember in theaters just going, holy shit, this is awesome. And it totally sucked me. And I was, at that point, I was 100% bought in to whatever the story was going to be, whatever. I was open to whatever
are you guys
this
referring
wanted to be.
Which one are you guys referring to?
When I say helicopter shot, I think of the shot entering the camp when they first get there on the helicopter. That's what I'm referring to.
when Louise first sees the ship for the first time, and it's got like the fog coming over the mountains, and it's really the first time we see the entire spaceship.
Gotcha.
Are we just gonna pull up shots, Geoff? Because since we're talking about production design,
shots. Am I pulling them up?
While you're doing that, I was going to say that scene
Look
also.
at this.
I know.
Look at
The
this.
score is also incredible as well. I want to talk about sound design and score at the same time, kind of, because I think, especially again when we first see the ship and she's confronted with the realism of everything, like the score is otherworldly. It's like it's mysterious in a way that just doesn't feel of
ominous.
Earth.
I agree. I do very much agree with that. And since I'm out. Since we are talking about both, one of my favorite things also, we kind of talked a little bit before the pod about a movie letting the greatness kind of shine through. And I sat there thinking the music is very gorgeous. I think this is perfect setting. We hear a decent amount of it, but it's like they left that under the sound design, like under the practical sound effects, and let the world kind of breathe, and didn't force or didn't necessarily, like maybe once or twice, have the soundtrack, the music, the biggest thing that's on the screen, the biggest thing you're listening to. One of my issues with Twister, I felt like the music was too much. Like this is the ratio I wanted Twister to be, where it's like you can still hear the sound, you can hear the music. It definitely sets a tone, but it's underneath the footsteps and the casual, clothes, and the world that you're in was the main sound versus the music. And I thought it was a gorgeous decision. Loved it.
Yes, absolutely. And when they go, now I'm doing it intentionally.
Sorry.
Now I'm doing it subconsciously. When they go and they're going into the ship for the first time, and there's like this whirring sound almost, even though there's no emission from the ship itself, and it creates it's this strange thing that's it's almost, is it practical, is it made up, is it score, is it sound design, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But when we meet the aliens, or they're talking to them for the first time, or they're kind of flying around, they're doing their guttural sounds, that shines more than the score does. And it's mixed perfectly.
They're
it's
damn
balanced
near combined,
incredibly,
right?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. After I said, underneath, it's damn near combined, right? They definitely they were so connected. It's hard to kind of separate them, and I thought it was a very
they worked
good
in
choice.
tandem really well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of that first the first scene going into the ship, Geoff, did you notice anything that I don't know if you thought of anything when they
Scissor
were
lift?
going into the ship? Yes, the scissor lift. The scissor lift.
I have a note about it. I was like, hey, scissor lifts.
Even beyond that, that is because I did research, because I paused it when they showed they literally showed the sky. It's a skyjack. It was a 7135. Okay.
Okay.
Good scissor. Hey, good scissor lift. It's for outdoors, which is proper.
Yep.
Gas, diesel. It's fantastic. Geoff, do you know,
I didn't
though,
believe that when they drove that it was that smooth, though. I don't know if when their hands were on the ceiling and they were just gliding across, I was like, there's no way that's not shaking all over the place.
It's not that smooth inside, let alone outside. Bullshit. My comment
there's
is
not a shh.
Yes, exactly, right. And everyone going, oh shit. Hey, you're only allowed 4
Oh, that's
freaking
right.
people.
They stacked that scissor lift too.
You jerk offs are breaking.
Where's OSHA?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they got a freaking letter from OSHA. There's 6 people in here. You're only supposed to have 4. God. No,
I love before you pull that down, I love that shot. That's one of my favorite shots of the whole thing. And they do this a couple of times, but this first one where we've got the alien POV and we're looking down, it just totally disorients me. It totally just throws off my perception of what is up, what's down, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a gorgeous shot, plays perfectly. Expert execution on this.
I would love to just balance in that zero gravity spot, and then let the distortion kind of come over you, because you're seeing down and you see the grass, but then you look look up and then you just see the glass whatever where the aliens are, and it's just super trippy. I would love to just hover there.
Well, and they only do it for the first time when they're walking up towards that barrier.
Yes.
They're upside down.
Yes. I was wondering. Yes, right. They showed us that. And I never, until this this viewing, I've never noticed that. I registered that they're upside down the whole time, but we just see them right side up, I guess. And like you said, that first, I want to say, I don't remember if they show up first or they show down, but whatever, that first one is like, you just start getting more kind of confused, and you're upside down, and then they go from like here to like sideways, which is actually like right side up, and then they do such a good job. It takes so long for us to get in there. It's such a believable wall, and then we don't do it again, which I'm so happy they didn't have us do it again, because they set it up so perfectly, and they're like, okay, that we know that.
Yep.
You're already confused. Now we're just going to go to normal, even though it's not going to be normal, but we're not,
It's like that's established, but now we don't need to oversaturate it. We don't need to go back to it. We don't need to confuse you guys even more. We don't need to use this as a gimmick. We just kind of used it and then we moved on. It was a great choice. I'm glad as well. But the acting in that scene is probably one of my favorites in the entire film. Is from Jeremy Renner to Amy Adams to Forest Whitaker. Like, everyone is just so on point in this entire movie, but it's exemplified in that very first, I guess, arrival scene where they go into the ship and they're freaking out about the gravity switch and about how everything is, like I said, they're disoriented. This is a monumental breakthrough. This is a monumental event for humankind, and they just kind of encapsulate that. The panic and the fear with the trembling hands, and with Ian tripping and falling, and then looking back, and even his kind of somewhat campy dialogue. It all works.
Answer him quicker. Answer him quicker, dude. You are in an alien ship. Chill out. Just say, yeah, I'm good. You got to ask like what, 3 times? God, I was so annoyed. I was like, come on, dude, just fucking answer. I would say one of my favorite. I found, since we're looking at photos. If anyone's listening and not watching, sorry, but we're looking at photos from IMDb. This might be my favorite. I think shot in there and like framing. I absolutely love it. We're over the shoulder of Ian. Amy Adams is, I guess, not centered, pretty damn centered, with Abbott and Costello in the background, and it is, God, it's so eerie, it's so believable. Like, this is a crazy, crazy thing to just pop up and be like, let me explain everything that's going on in here. But in the moment, God, it all fits so perfectly, so perfectly.
Well, when you think about it, they using that single location, it's actually very simplistic, but they found a bunch of ways to keep it interesting, even though we kept going back to it. It was very cool in that way. Whether it was the lighting and the direction and the camera angles, like straight on, maybe over the shoulder like this, like they kept it very visually interesting the entire time to me.
Yeah, and they mixed with their shots as well. Like, there was the one when she gets called in by Forest Whitaker's colonel, and she has to translate in Mandarin for the first time, and that's all in most of that's in a one shot, and we stay in the wide angle. Like, we stay away from everybody, and so they mix up not just kind of time, but they mix up shots to help keep things visually interesting as well. Like, it's very, very well crafted movie.
And I think honestly, I think it's just to always have you kind of disoriented. We rarely, it's just not like, hey, we're back in the ship, so it's going to look like this. Everything always looks slightly different. It felt like, at least, you'd have to go through all the shots to be like, oh, they did this many shots, blah, blah. It felt like no matter what we were doing, it was never like the same thing again, kind of. It was a new version of something that we were doing. Yeah, that wide with her doing... translating the Mandarin was awesome. They didn't give us subtitles or anything. We just sat there and like let her tell us, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Jeff, this is the shot that Matt and I were talking about earlier. Just want to make sure you saw that. For everyone else who wants to know.
Yeah, I know that's the classic, very classic. Like, everyone knows that image for sure.
Yeah,
and
very,
frankly,
very Denny move.
If somebody knows some basic CGI, I feel like we could go out tomorrow and do that.
Right?
I would be absolutely down to try. That would be awesome.
Speaking of subtitles a little bit, though, I wanted to know how Brandon felt about the subtitle scene.
I knew one of you were going to ask. I knew one of you
as
was.
soon as like Luis got over to the smoky alien side. When the alien started doing the ink patterns, it automatically started to do the subtitles for the alien translation, which was very
whales.
Avatar 2, because all of a sudden we're just buying into the fact that these people know the language well enough that
well, it's not these people. This is at a critical turning point, right? This is after Louise has started to kind of see her future memories, her future visions, her whatever. She started to see this kid slowly, progressively, more and more and more. It starts to click that, hey, there is a connection between
Brandon was good with it. He liked
her life now and whenever this is happening. Like, there's clearly some kind of correlation that she's tapping into. And they're going to, everyone's going to move out because this is after the explosion. So they've got to leave. Now they have to evacuate. And there's a shot where the shuttle, I guess, comes down out of the ship. And then she goes and she leaves that meeting, and she goes and walks out and gets into it. Or she goes and walks out, and then the shuttle comes down. So this is after she's already been kind of thinking in that forward way. It's already been the idea of thinking in this cyclical, way has been established. I'm trying to find the quote because it was with Ian and it was with Louise. I think it was obviously before the explosion, and it basically, they're talking about how the theory that the language you speak determines how you think and how it affects everything. And Louise is already starting to think in that way. So she gets into the ship and she starts talking and communicating with the aliens. She can understand them and she can understand this language now, while the other people can't. And I thought that was a very powerful time to use the subtitles and actually say, hey, our intent is for you to think that she understands them, because she's already immersed in this language now, and that changes how she thinks, and that changes her perception of time and of reality itself.
So yes, you did like it.
Yes.
So yes, I did like it.
Okay.
I think that wasn't like they gave you a glimpse of it. I want to say when the first time they said offer weapon.
Yeah.
I believe she just said it means like. I'm trying to remember I think it was like kind of part of a transition maybe, where like it popped up and then you might have heard them say, what does that mean? Then she says offer weapon, and then they jump to like the conference room, I think. And if I'm correct,
that sounds right. Because then they're debating the fact that's like we could have misinterpreted weapon, like weapon could also mean tool and all these other things.
But so I think what they were doing with that was you got the inkling that she just read it on her own, not the computer didn't tell it. But then they cut to the conference room, so we never know. Maybe we just jumped to a spot and we heard the first line of the next scene rather than the end line of the previous scene, and the part of the transition you don't know entirely. So in theory, she saw that on the screen on the fake glass wall and went, "Oh, that means offer a weapon." And then we jumped to that, and then they're having a whole discussion, and no one really went, you just read that without like being told? So I think
I think at that point in the movie too, I heard them very subtly say that they'd been like studying stuff for like a month or two. Like they'd been out there I don't know how long it takes to learn a new language like this, but
I think it's coming up on 4 weeks. I in one of the later scenes. What's that?
I don't know. That sounded like they're currently doing it, and they're coming up on 4 weeks right now.
Coming up on 4 weeks. Next week we should know more. Hopefully we'll get a couple more words deciphered.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it sounded like.
But there was definitely a scene.
There'd be a Patreon where each week they'll give you another word. They have a whole thing. Sorry, go ahead.
That would be amazing. But there was a part where I think on one of the video boards it said day 27. So I know it. Near the end, it was only a month in, which also kind of was like, wow, that happened really fucking fast.
Yep. She because Jeremy Renner asked her at one point, are you still dreaming in their language? She never answers. So obviously, yes. Speaking of the languages as a whole, the first vision I believe she had was, I want to say when she was studying like the first words, like human and the other one, right? I think she had a flash. So you're saying, so she understood it enough to start getting the powers, right?
Yeah.
Or, okay. So there's a shit ton of people now that are having visions, right? Everywhere. Because that was the most basic, barely understanding it. The Pakistanis are the ones that figured out what the writing, how to even read the writing. They're the ones that figured it out. So there's a bunch of people there that understand it enough to start getting visions. People have been getting visions for a very long time. And it's weird that she's the only one that like anything that was like, oh, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people were working. I understand she'd be the only one that was close enough and got close enough to like actually physically time travel. But like a hell of people have to be having this power at this point everywhere. How is Ian not talking to her about this?
Right.
Hey, dude, I think I just saw the future.
Yeah.
Oh shit, me too.
Or you know, is she the, I don't know, that's a commentary possibly on, you know, what is the future vision and what is like, hey, I just kind of hope this happens and I was dreaming about this and you were in my dream last night. It's not really a dream. I can't talk to you about this because I barely know you. Or, you know, is Louise the first one to actually truly understand the language? Are the Pakistani scientists, are they just able to start to translate? Well, but like you said,
it depends on what happens to them in their future, because she only knows that stuff because of what her future is. She wrote the book
the other
of
thing
the
I was
entire
gonna
language.
Is the reason she even starts having visions is because she ultimately eventually figured it out?
I think so.
And she's jumping backwards?
I think so.
Or
I wrote down a note that the future is very, like, this movie is very, very much, the future is influencing our present, like, rather than what we usually see out of time movies.
Right.
And if you do think it's that, it's the classic, what was it? Stephen Hawking was like, he was like, hey, I'm going to have a birthday party and invite nobody so that if I do end up time traveling, I'll just come back to here. Or like, all time travelers come. So it's like, because you eventually will know it, then you'll show up, but that never happens. So then nobody eventually gets time travel. That's what I was wondering, if it was kind of like that, where it's like, unless you ultimately get there and be able to travel, nothing else is going to change. Like, you're not going to get in visions or anything. And that's why I was wondering. That's why I wanted to see what your opinion was, Brandon. We got the two different sides. Where you just assumed it was, if you understand it, as you're understanding it, you become more and more powerful, quote unquote. Not that it's like a superpower, because Brandon would hate this. More and more, but instead, we got the other side, which is, hey, that's interesting. That's good. I like that. But cool. I agree with Geoff's side. Sorry, Brandon.
That's fine. You can be wrong in your opinion. That's okay.
Because if it was the other way, how are people not talking about this?
Yeah.
For a month?
How does nobody else see those visions? Yeah, that's an interesting take for sure. It
didn't
what
even
exactly
occur to me that
to mean?
Anybody else could have these visions. I thought it was just her.
Well, I understand that because the whole movie is centered around her, and we're very focused on that. But when you take that logic step of, she stared at it and was able to identify enough of it to get some of the power, you cannot tell me somebody can explain to you and figure out from zero how to read this thing without understanding it as much as she did just then. Bullshit. So either it's the other way, or there's some flaws, which are understandable flaws. Because if it is like that, I'm fine with I'm fine with skipping that logic. It doesn't ruin anything. And if I was in the writer's room and they're going, yeah, but wouldn't this stuff be true? And I'm like, I'm perfectly fine with just ignoring that, because I mean, fucking, it's minor shit. Let's have a clean, clean through movie, instead of having to explain a bunch of shit and be like, oh, make sure I know it's about this and it's about that. So good job, guys.
Yeah. Good job. I think we broke it. Yeah, that really makes me think a lot now. Thanks. I appreciate that, Matt.
No worries. That's what I'm here for.
So what?
Forcing people to fucking think.
I want to get your guys' thoughts about the CGI kind of as a whole. There were parts I like the aliens I thought looked great for being just strange gray creatures with semi, finger-like appendages. But then
sorry, not balls.
I was like, hold on.
But then the humans in their fucking hazmat suits, that sucked. I hated seeing that. That took I think the gravity approach.
Wait, what part of it is the suits? Did you say?
Excuse me?
Like where their faces, I don't know, maybe they weren't, but they sure did look like CGI, and they looked like their face wasn't connected to their body.
I didn't get that from the hazmat.
Oh, you didn't?
Stuff.
Okay, cool.
No.
Maybe it was just
I did not either. I'm gonna look through some shots.
I was more distracted by the
agree with
glare from the huge white smoky light direction on their hazmat suits because there was just a big line on their that sometimes covered their faces. But what do you do about that? It's like,
True.
I mean,
But
Brandon,
then also
I can totally understand it if they were to, I guess, because like maybe we don't get a clear view of them the whole time because of the hard plastic and all the lighting and stuff, and it just like glares are impossible. But I never was watching it going, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The one part that stuck out to
I don't
me
see it.
was her hair when she got to the smoky side.
Yes,
that was the one that stuck out to me.
Oh, yeah.
Misty, underwater, like,
Mm-hmm.
anti-gravity place. Yeah, that definitely looked
And I think the
terrible.
only reason they did that was so that they could establish that's how the aliens are able to float away. But
I guess.
I have no idea why.
Well,
like, otherwise, they could have just had her hair normal, and I would have been fine with it.
Because it's mysterious and otherworldly, Jeff. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah, a little bit, honestly.
Because they're hotboxing
Yeah, I don't know,
it,
Brandon.
Jeff.
I'm sorry. I don't agree with your CG's take. I apologize.
Yeah, I thought it looked practical as far as I could tell.
I don't see anything that makes me go, that looks fake.
Yeah, in the
And I didn't
stills,
think about
it's
it
much.
at the moment.
In the stills, it looks much more realistic. But for me, when I was watching, I went, I don't know why, I just don't like it, and that's how I felt about
I
Gravity.
didn't notice
also,
it in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
so
interesting,
we'll go back to.
Guess I'll have to watch it again.
If you don't pull my arm. I don't know. Anyways. Sorry.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. And then, I mean, but again, going further into the CG, I will go back to saying that the aliens, like the textures of their like skin and stuff looked really good to me. And then the smoke that was engulfing them looked really legit too. Like,
same.
Still, it's like strange to think 2016, like I was still finishing up college in 2016, and like this stuff still holds up just as good as things do today.
Yeah, it is very, very impressive. I agree with that.
Yeah, incredibly so. It looks professional. It looks, higher budget, and it looks well done. And these, I mean, Jeff, you ask all the time, like, what are the things you kind of want to make? And it's like, these are the types, like, if I were to make a sci-fi movie, I want to make something like this, where it looks realistic and it looks hyper-realism.
Well,
like,
in some ways, this felt like, because I tell you guys on the same note that I get drawn to Christopher Nolan's style in terms of storytelling and like and visuals and practical use, and this very much falls in that line as well. Like I am very much a very visual storyteller, kind of like driven, because I just love the way that he uses dialogue very subtly, but the exposition still gets taken appropriately to the degree that it needs to be. Yeah. I love holding on shots of people's reactions and letting that tell the story. He just did an exceptional job with that.
And I mean,
absolutely.
I think, should we pull the quote from Dune 2 that everyone was all pissy about? I don't like dialogue. And we'll put it in here, and then he'll say, I don't like dialogue, and everyone will go, oh, it was so great. It was such a good idea to do all the minimum. But then it was Dune 2. It's like, oh, what a piece of shit.
Which line was that? I don't remember.
Dialogue is for TV.
He doesn't like putting dialogue in his movies. But it was minimum but realistic, and it gave us enough backstory and kind of narrative that we needed, but not too much unnecessary.
Well, and I also like the way when he did use dialogue, with the way that Luis's character, he had her explain things to us, like the complex ideas.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the kangaroo thing. I thought that was still great though. I was like, oh, I get it. And she's like, that's a lie. I was like, damn it, I believed you. but also
I even wrote in my notes, I was like, cool, a cool history lesson. I love these.
I started typing and I was like, oh, nope, delete. But the other line too being the fact that, like, it's like, giving someone a hammer, like if all you do is give someone a hammer, everything becomes a nail. And I was like, I love
Great
that
lines.
those like descriptions and stuff.
And the whole movie like did a fantastic job, I think, of showing, like, making you ask questions and dive into stuff. Like, for example, that it's like, oh, they think it's a weapon and stuff, and then they describe the hammer, and you're like, you know what? Actually, that's really very smart, and makes you look at other stuff the same way too.
Yeah, it really makes you think, and that I think is one of the bigger parts or bigger things that I liked about this movie. Is because they take that I don't know if timeless or possibly overused, like what if scenario. What if aliens visited us? And it kind of looks at it in a different way of how do we approach this? Instead of these aliens being problematic, it's how do we understand them, and how would humans go about understanding them if they got the chance in the current climate? So I like the spin on the what if, and it took it in a really interesting direction that ultimately I feel like made it original. I know this is based on a short story that I haven't read, but it did this idea,
this concept,
pretty smoothly.
Yeah. Quick question for you guys.
Yeah.
If, did it bug you at all when they said they were talking about how China was mobilizing and starting to start the almost attack, and other countries are starting to follow suit, and then they were just talking political tactics and stuff, and then there was a line where they were the guy was saying, it's but look what the Germans have done, putting people against the world against each other because we have all these different world leaders, but look what Germany's done, look what blah blah blah's done. They even have a word for it in Hungary. Did it do you remember that line? Did it bug you that they didn't define what that meant? I had to look it up. I looked it up because I was very curious about it.
All right, what is it?
Brandon wasn't that upset.
It's I mean, I don't know. I guess it's spelled SZALAMITA. Anyways, it's salami tactics. is what it comes down to. They call it salami tactics. But
that's actually how it's pronounced. Salami tactics.
I know, it's just got all these extra letters. But essentially the description of the term is the practice of using a series of many small actions to produce a much larger action or result that would be difficult or unlawful to perform all at once. So it's kind of the tactic of rather than full out committing genocide, you're starting to put in place all these little things happening that gets you to that ultimate goal, and then people are all of a sudden down with it kind of situation, or it's just what happens. It's very interesting. I guess it's something that occurs in world war tactics and things like that, politics. I was not familiar with that before.
Strategies of war are fucked up, but
I know,
they're necessary in times.
One more fun fact thing I want to bring up for you guys. Did you recognize?
That last one a fun fact?
Well, it was I hope it's a fact. I don't know. I didn't fact check the fact, but
this has only been fact checked twice. We definitely could fact check it.
So it's 80% fact. But did you guys recognize the song, the track that they played at the beginning and at the end of the movie? Did any of that music sound familiar to you guys?
Yes, you tell me, and then I'll agree with
I can't believe it didn't occur to you. So even in the very beginning, when they start with what we think is flashbacks of her kid and seeing the progression of her going to the hospital and getting sick and whatnot.
It was also a flashback.
It was also a circle.
Technically, you just gotta go all the whoa. Okay,
but that song, it's called "On the Nature of Daylight," but that's the song that they played in The Last of Us with Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett when he's dying essentially, and they both commit suicide. That was that song, but I guess you guys didn't recognize it.
No, I did. I told you I did.
Yes, that's right.
Last
Brandon
of Us, right?
God, do you even
Doesn't
like
that one
music?
guy sing it? Have you ever heard a song? Loser.
Same track. I really like that song though.
Interesting. It was a good song. All the like we said, all the music felt very natural, I think.
Yeah.
I will say one of small negatives. I felt like the military was just Forest Whitaker did good acting, but military just felt so cliche. I don't know, some of the stuff when she was oh, tell him what ask him what the horse was or whatever, and I'm why did we just straight up believe her all the time? Oh, we did this or did that, and when he was oh, you're teaching him how to read and write? Are you stupid? I'm what universe is that not the same thing? What you brought her to act you just expected her to walk up and scream the question constantly at you? What did you? That's fucking stupid.
Well,
but it's just to set up her and shit. No,
I don't know, because I kind of had the same thought. Is wouldn't from a basic standpoint, wouldn't it be more difficult and take longer to teach someone to read and write at the same time? Wouldn't you want to start with just reading and comprehending, the language from one aspect and then go on to another one? That's kind of where my brain works. Is
See,
is starting starting from there.
Reading
And it fascinates me that the reality of the situation is when you're teaching someone a brand new language, no, you want to kind of give them more things at once. Plus, it also speaks to the aliens' understanding of time as well. Like they were talking about how, hey, they don't understand our algebra, but the more complex situations, that clicks. And so,
I can't fathom someone saying, I can read but can't write. That seems ridiculous. It's the same thing.
Can understand more Spanish than I can
know what
speak.
all the shapes look like. Yeah, but you can read them, but not write those words that you can read. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I can understand enough to get the gist of the sentence, but I can't say the sentence out loud, or I can't write the sentence out loud.
I get what you're saying, Matt, but like I
shut up,
but
Geoff.
I will say
I'm not done with him. Geoff,
I can't.
Geoff,
I was about to agree with you.
Geoff,
but never mind.
shut up.
Nope.
Brandon.
Hi.
You can hear Jeff's gone. You can hear it and understand it, right?
Most of it, yes.
So, but reading it, you're telling me you can read a sentence in Spanish and not be able to write it down.
Yes.
It's situational though, because I can read Spanish and I can remember that there are certain words that I recall, and like they have certain structures that are much easier than English. But then let's say you just like out of nowhere just told me to write a sentence in Spanish. I'm just like, fuck, I don't remember like what word. It's like, I don't know. I'm more likely to remember the words in Spanish while reading them versus trying to write them out. Like,
Yes.
There's some words that are part of your not part of your vocabulary that you can read and be like, oh, I understand and interpret that correctly, but you're not going to write it down. It's not going to become like it's not part of your usual writing.
I will say
cluster, I guess.
I feel like I'm trying to refer to as writing as a whole, and that seems insane to me to be like, I don't know that. Hey, clearly you guys agreed. It seems insane to me to be like, oh, you just teach somebody how to read and not write. One would take way longer. It's the same fucking thing. Be like, here's cat, write cat. Here's dog, write dog. And you're like, whoa, could have just gone, here's cat, here's dog. Come on. That just seems so cliche to me personally. But hey, obviously that's just cliche to me and not you guys. So
hooray.
Yeah, I don't know. It's more complicated than that. But
speaking of dialogue, which is made of sound, and I want to get away from this for the love of God. How many nominations for Oscars did it get, Brandon?
So this got 8 nominations for Best Motion Picture, Directing, Screenplay, Cinematography, Film Editing, Sound Mixing, Sound Editing, and Production Design. It only won 1. This was the year of La La Land and the Moonlight fiasco. It was a great, great time.
Yeah.
Not a good movie.
It was interesting. Which one?
Average movie. Moonlight.
Yeah, I never ended up seeing it.
Moonlight's
so
good.
slow.
Moonlight's good. It's definitely slow, and
Kyle and I saw it, and we're like, "Fucking A, what did we?"
Yeah, it definitely has an identity.
Anyway,
that
the only one they won was sound editing.
Yep, they did win for sound editing.
So fucking good. I thought the just the sound of the aliens. Like, I don't know how you even like describe the sound of the aliens, but it fits so perfectly. The addition of the bird in the chamber was a brilliant touch, even outside of, they normally do that for people who don't know, take it down to caves and mining and stuff. And the point is, if it is unable to breathe, the air is getting poisonous for whatever reason, the bird's going to die first. So when the bird dies, you're supposed to leave because they're so precious that, and they take so much energy, they breathe so quickly, it will just circulate. It will kill them faster than humans. So then you at least have time to get out.
They're so
and I thought it was, yes.
I love the term.
I didn't mean to. But I thought even beyond the fact that it would be there, not really, but it would be there, is the chirping in the background was beautifully placed in, and at least early, and gives you just a little bit of, a kind of a clock-ish, where it's just the bird, it's over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's just this constant in the background. We talked about the creation of the alien sounds, fantastic. We talked about just the stillness of inside the ship and inside the room, the vapor room, I guess. All of that. Just the sound was absolutely incredible.
Him putting the headphones on in the helicopter.
Yeah.
That little transition was great.
That was fantastic. That helped sell it for sure. I think that probably would be one of the top aspects of this movie is sound. I'm not going to lie. Sound, cinematography, and for me, story.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it was pretty solid. Apparently, I'm looking at trivia. Apparently, Denis and Eric Heiserer, like the writers, created a fully functioning language with those what they're calling logograms.
Pretty fucking cool.
That's crazy. Yeah, so much
Pretty
time.
fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel like a deep language, like what's his face that did Lord of the Rings and everything.
Peter Jackson.
Yes. No, shut up. No.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, that one. Who like wrote Elvish and shit like that, and like created a bunch of languages and whatnot. And it definitely makes it doesn't explain, all the different aspects of it, but it feels real, even though they don't explain every single little bit.
Would you guys rather be able to read Heptapod, or would you rather be able to speak Na'vi?
What are you talking about? I would rather time travel. I give whichever one that is. If you want to make that the Na'vi, I don't give a shit about either language. One time travels. The other is just some blue people.
So
Geoff, you can answer. Sorry.
I don't even... I mean, if time travel is if that is the condition of me understanding and reading that language, then yeah, I'd have to go that way too.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I wasn't including that as the condition, but that's fair. That's fair.
I'd only use Na'vi if I was on that planet. And the
so.
planet,
Yeah, otherwise
everything's trying to kill me on that planet. So.
Unless you're on Earth and you just bump into somebody that speaks Na'vi, which I don't even know how that would be like happen. You're just out and about talking Na'vi to yourself
until someone says something back.
Oh, I've been walking around for a year.
Before we go to grades, I guess I just want to ask if you guys feel like this movie took a realistic enough approach. Like, could you see if this event actually took place, could you see people inside the military, inside this base camp, going up and trying to destroy the ship? Like, because I feel like that, I mean, back in 2016, yes, and especially right now in 2024, just the kind of extremists that we've got on all sides, on all, throughout the entire political spectrum, kind of trying to take things into their own hands and say, hey, I'm going to defend myself, I'm going to defend, what I think is right, and I'm going to do something radical and crazy. I feel like that was an incredibly realistic approach to how different human beings would react. We had the one soldier's wife just in hysterics over it. We have the military from multiple countries preparing for battle, preparing for defense. And then we have regular people, civilians looting and rioting. I just thought it took an extremely terrifying approach, but one that I think could definitely happen.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. I think they played it out pretty accurately to what would happen, because I could also see it being a huge political game if were to say happen like this. Like they pointed out something that I've never really thought about a whole lot before, but we do have leaders, like so many leaders in this world. We don't have a singular leader of the entire planet, and in that essence, like there are parts of this world that are kind of like playing against each other in some ways. Like I could see people considering all the factors of like, it's like, so if one country plays friends with the aliens first and like they like them better, it's like that could be a political move if they have crazy weaponry technology that they just give them, and then they become the new superpower. And they could go a bunch of different directions, but I did like the political regards to it as well, like where everyone's generally playing nice together until they're not.
Yeah, until they're not. Until someone gets spooked, until someone threatens the others, until, something like that. And that truly, again, is just the terrifying aspect that I think is the whole message of this movie. The whole theme is, we need to understand each other. We need to be open to what one another thinks and feels and be empathetic and not afraid and not worried about, playing, a game of Scorpion with the others, like, the mutual assured destruction aspect of it, of, just because they are a power, because they have, the means to kill you doesn't mean that they will or that they should. Kind of. I don't know where I was going with that.
Sorry,
I mean, I get it.
You said scorpion, and then I went dodgeball. I think, right? That's what I was trying to go for. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really honestly put too much thought into like it like having a message necessarily, or like trying to put something out into the world, and I just kind of watched it more as this is cool and like there for the adventure and the and followed like the current story. But I can totally see that, she was definitely the champion of let me talk to them and share information, I guess. But it felt like it was all in the greater mission of, figuring out what they do want. Yeah. Rather than, humanity needs to work together, but it's more of a means to an end, kind of, rather than you foolish old men, us young women know how to run things. But it was a bunch of men in the room. But
yeah.
She's
but at the same time, they did listen to her to a degree.
Yeah, do you really think if she just called this dude, I don't know. I feel like if somebody called me and like, I guess, repeated some words, I wouldn't be like, oh, clearly this woman's time travel. I'd be like, this fucking the U.S. government is bugging me. The fuck is this? Not me like, I should listen to you and everything that you say and make entire decisions for my whole country by this random woman that called me on my cell phone.
I can't remember if it was in this movie or if it was in a deleted scene or if I'm just making it up, but I swear I remember what
we have
hearing
so many options.
Remember hearing Louise or the general explaining what Louise said.
It was it was her mother. I mean, it was her wife's dying words, right?
Yes, but I thought I remember like hearing what those words actually are, and like it's like a message of peace, or it's like, hey, forgive somebody, or something like that, something to
just
the
in a
effect
real
of,
world, like you just said. You think the Chinese president getting a phone call from a military woman changes everything about what they're doing for this global event based off of that? You think the real world Chinese president would do that?
No. That's where it went off the rails.
That's all I'm saying. I understand.
However,
they did a good job. I'm not calling anyone cliche. I'm not trying to insult the movie. I'm just saying that's a weird, right? Crazy.
That's a bit of a stretch. But I guess, again, it depends on the context, depends on what those dying words were. If her dying words are, hey, I saw an alien and someone's going to call you soon to tell you not to attack them, don't.
This is why I want some nostalgic movies so I can make fun of them.
You don't want to have to think anymore.
Great.
Grades.
Grading time, where we grade the movie we just watched.
Hey.
One small thing. Did you guys notice when they switched over from Amy Adams to Jeremy Renner for like 3 scenes or whatever? We only followed her around, and then he started doing narrator, and
I
then
noticed
like
that
we
he did
followed
the
him
voiceover
for
and stuff. Yeah,
a couple scenes. We followed him, and then or like a scene or two, and then went back to her. I didn't notice like what the reason was necessarily. It kind of just happened. I didn't think she was passed out or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see
outsider
any,
look in on our main character. I guess I'm not sure why they chose.
Yeah,
to do that.
I would assume so. It was just it kind of
like I think it was during a montage process, right? Like passing of time, like they were getting progress while like interacting with the aliens and stuff. I feel like that's when it happened, but at least the one I noticed.
That's interesting. I only noticed the narrative, him doing the narrating. One section. He did it
that's
the whole
what
time?
I thought too. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you said there were 2. So I. Yeah.
Well, it was a bunch at one point where it just like went through, and it was like, and I'm pretty sure we followed him at some point, the camera, because I was noticing that we never were away from her, and then it happened, and I just didn't remember. If it was the jump in time, that would make sense. That would check out a why. why they did
Why it
that,
happened there.
or
Yeah.
that what was that? Guess that was the jump or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sweet. So Brandon's got to go first.
Brandon.
Right? Wait.
Yeah.
I'm so discombobulated. You did Tenet, you did Arrival, and I'm doing Edge of Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I've been just thinking them as a group of three. So that was, I'm pretty sure Brandon did this, right? You picked it, right?
Cool. Let's do it. Yeah, I picked this one because ever since I saw it in 2016, I loved it. I love the idea. I love the execution. It's a powerful movie. I thought it was just solidly put together. Everyone did a great job with it and within it. Like I said, I feel like it was pretty realistic and a smart approach to kind of convey what the implications of an alien invasion in quotes, would kind of do to our current civilization, with the added benefit of taking a particular stance on the political climate of the day. Plus, again, it answered the question of how would you deal with the first contact being made in a very specific manner. And that understanding them is the key, and understanding each other is a true moral, which I think is where the movie kind of earns its stripes, really. The cast is stellar. Amy Adams is fantastic. Jeremy Renner is great. Forest Whitaker is solid as always. The score is absolutely outstanding. I loved it. Cinematography is magnificent. That just, evoked a lot of emotion for me as well. And the visuals, for me, kind of were hit and miss with the CGI or with some of the aided special effects. But overall, it was really clean cut, and you could see everything. I could see everything. I didn't think anything was shrouded in too much darkness or anything like that. I enjoyed the character study that it was. It's not my favorite movie of all time, but it definitely is up there, and I definitely enjoy it a lot. I think I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Something like a Midsummer, like a Revenant, Hateful
Threw in
Eight.
my guess last minute there.
Oh,
But,
I was too focused on myself. I didn't even look at it. Dang it.
But yeah, I've
9
got
out of
this one
10?
at a 9, solid 9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, I'm not next, Brandon. I mean, Geoff. God, I'm struggling.
50-50 chance. No, I agree. I think this movie is very well rounded. Like there aren't very many things I can think of as like a downside to it. Aside from like the little plot holes that we might have like discussed of like
Nope.
Cliches and things like
Nope.
that.
Nope, none of those are true. Shut up, Geoff.
That's right. It's
none of
perfect
those are
art.
true. How dare you say that?
I know. What am I thinking? But no, I think the actors did really well. The visuals are amazing. The score working in tandem, the production design, like everyone in their respective departments killed it. And I think in that regard, I think I'm gonna put it at an 8.75. It's just really solid and good and up there. It's not like on my top list stuff, but it is a good watch, and I really enjoy it.
All right. 8.75 for Geoff. All right. I don't know if I was happy. See, because I'm leaning towards we hypothetically could have had an entire matching podcast. Because I think, because when I look at it, I think sound design was fantastic, but I really loved how much visually gorgeous it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I could watch this again with just, I don't know, without any sound on and still enjoy just the visuals of the camera work. And I know the coloring still, even though there aren't, very vibrant stuff, I thought the coloring was still consistent, good, solid. The camera work was amazing. The story was, it was pretty damn good. Maybe small things here and there, but damn, it was. I'm looking at my stuff, and I had more fun than I enjoy watching it more than, Avatar 2. Personally, There Will Be Blood. I thought this is better than that.
Wow.
Is more of a story that I like to watch. The kind of venture to thinker. The lines, the bullshit line with the kangaroo and stuff. I love that style. Do I want to put it on the same level as 1917, Joker, and the Half-Blood Prince, which I have at 9.25?
Mm-hmm.
I
I know it gets tough because they're also like not comparable in some ways too.
Exactly right.
It's
They're
so
different
hard.
different style movies. And
It's like I might change mine later down the road. I don't know.
And you know what? I don't know. We'll all just do different, so I don't have to match with Brandon. I'm gonna go. No, I truly do believe it might be on the same level as those three from 8 years ago. It was gorgeous. It's very tiny, if anything, problems, and it let the good shit shine. And the sound design was fucking amazing. All right, yeah, I'm going 9.25.
Ooh,
I'm going
nice.
9.25.
Nice. I'll probably change mine here very soon.
Heard, I got you, man. 9.25.
Yeah, it's hard. I looked at my same list and I'm just like, I know it's higher than an 8.5, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like some things might have to shift for me to find its like right spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know.
My
we'll
9
see.
flat is like Fight Club, which I'm like, I think it's better than Castaway.
Mhm.
I think it might be better than Jojo Rabbit, which are my 9s. Fight Club is where the trouble is, but I think Fight Club might need to be at 9.25 for me. Which, hey, if everyone sticks around, end of the year, we will do changes. End of the calendar year,
Yes.
we are allowed to do changes. So things can, tweak left and right. Generally,
Make
you don't
shifts.
do massive ones, but that is a long ass ways away. What
Not
are we
that
doing?
long. I can't believe we're already fucking in August. Holy shit.
Right? Tell me about it.
Way to date
Almost
the
there.
podcast.
Always. Old as fuck.
And next week we're gonna do.
Tenet, right?
Do you want to? I don't. Did we discuss which one?
We
is
have
which?
not.
Sweet.
Next week's Tenet.
All right, so yeah, next week is Tenet.
And which neither of you have seen, or Brandon saw once, didn't
Yep.
love it, and then Geoff hasn't seen
I've
it.
seen it a few times.
I saw it in
Oh, you have?
theaters when
Okay.
it came
Wow.
out, and that was the one and only time I saw it. So I'm excited to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's a
I'm feeling
palindrome.
Brandon might
like
not
Hannah.
like it. Oh,
Like Hannah.
Yeah. Tenet is Tenet backwards.
Shut up.
Oh,
For real?
Crazy.
Read it forwards and backwards. So if I put this movie on in reverse, it's going to be the same movie.
No, but I bet you it would make
You'll
sense.
see the
though,
backwards
in a
portions
weird-
playing forwards,
I
which will
bet
be
you,
very
I
interesting.
bet you it would make sense in a weird way.
Right.
Do I have to put on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon at the same time for it to all sync up?
Backwards,
I
yes.
doubt it, but possibly you can if you want. I think watching it backwards would be weird, so might as well. Fuck it.
Let us know how it was.
Sweet. Yeah. So Tenet's next week, and then stick around later in August as we continue our time traveling through August with Edge of Tomorrow, which I haven't seen, so I'm excited to watch that one as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm predicting it's going to be a good ratings month, I think. I don't know how much everyone's going to love Tenet, but Edge of Tomorrow is pretty fun.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd say
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Be interesting.
And then, like Matt said at the beginning, last week we had a special Sunday presentation of Twisters to make room for Deadpool and Wolverine for our Thursday show. So go check out both of those episodes out anywhere you get your podcast. Go check us out on YouTube. Come interact with us on our socials. We're all over the place. All the information is going to be in our show notes. And thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to Arrival. Enjoy
Were
the
you
movies,
upset
guys?
when they said what happens next, and they were like, they arrive?
They
and you're
arrive,
like,
yeah.
You could have just said it's the arrival, you motherfuckers.
We got a couple of almost title drops that I was fine with. I was okay with. It's probably what kept it out of the 10 for me, but that's fine.
I wrote down Brandon's blue balls. All right,
Goddamn
well,
teases.
on the note of Brandon's blue balls, bye.
Bye.
Bye.